He moved into the cheapest apartment he could find, not knowing the man next door controlled his job, his future, and the secret that could destroy his ex-wife forever. If you believe life can change in one hallway, one knock, one mistake, subscribe now. Because this story doesn't just twist, it detonates. When Daniel Carter signed the lease for apartment 4B, he wasn't looking for comfort, community, or even peace. He was looking for invisibility, the kind that only comes when you've been hunted by someone who once swore to love you, the kind that settles into your bones after courtrooms, lawyers, and the sound of your phone vibrating at 2 a.m. with messages that begin politely and end like threats. He moved his 7-year-old daughter Lily in with 2 suitcases, a box of mismatched dishes, and a silence that clung to them tighter than the peeling paint on the stairwell walls, telling himself this place, this old brick building tucked between a shuttered laundromat and a convenience store with flickering lights, was temporary, just a hiding spot until his ex-wife stopped looking, until she found someone else to control, until the storm passed. Even though deep down Daniel knew storms like hers didn't pass, they waited, and Lily sensed it too, the way children sense cracks in walls adults pretend aren't there. Clutching his hand as they walked past apartment 4A, the door beside theirs, pristine and expensive looking, the kind of door that didn't belong in a building like this, with its polished brass number and faint smell of citrus cleaner drifting through the hall. But Daniel didn't think about it, didn't ask questions, because asking questions had cost him everything once before. Daniel had once been a rising star at Mercer Systems, a mid-sized tech firm with ambitions far bigger than its balance sheet, until his marriage collapsed under the weight of ambition, jealousy, and a single night he still couldn't fully remember, only the aftermath, the accusations, the police report that went nowhere, the internal investigation that quietly ended his promotion, the way his ex-wife Rachel's smile never reached her eyes during custody hearings, how she promised she'd make sure he never felt safe again, and so he ran, took a lower position, moved cities, changed routines, stopped posting online, learned which streets had cameras and which cafes asked fewer questions, all while pretending to Lily that this was an adventure, that small apartments meant big imaginations, that paper-thin walls were just proof other people were alive nearby. But at night, when Lily slept, Daniel sat awake listening to footsteps in the hallway, every creak sounding like Rachel's heels, every knock like the end of his borrowed time. The first knock came 3 weeks after they moved in, and Daniel almost didn't answer, standing frozen as Lily called from the bedroom asking who it was, until a calm, measured voice spoke through the door, apologetic, polite, male, introducing himself as Alex, the neighbor from next door, saying there'd been a mix-up with a package. And when Daniel opened the door, what he saw didn't match the building. A tall man in his late 30s, tailored coat, relaxed posture, eyes sharp but not unkind, the kind of man who looked like he belonged in boardrooms and airport lounges, not dim hallways with buzzing lights. And Daniel felt something tighten in his chest, a reflex from years of corporate life, recognizing authority before logic could intervene. But Alex smiled easily, thanked him, apologized again, and left without incident, and Daniel shut the door telling himself it was nothing, just another stranger, just another place, just another day survived. What Daniel didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Alex Warren wasn't just another tenant, that the man living in apartment 4A was the newly appointed CEO of Mercer Systems, the same company Daniel now worked for remotely under a different department code, the man who had been hired to clean house, to investigate old cases quietly buried, to find out why talented people disappeared while toxic ones thrived. And Alex hadn't moved into the building by accident, hadn't chosen anonymity because he wanted peace, but because sometimes the truth came out faster when no one knew who you were. And the first time Alex heard Lily laugh through the wall, bright and unguarded, he wondered how a place meant for hiding could sound so alive. The friendship formed slowly, cautiously, the way people who've been burned approach warmth, with shared nods in the hallway, borrowed tools, conversations that never quite crossed into personal territory, until one night the power went out and Lily panicked, memories of shouting and slammed doors flooding back, and Alex knocked without thinking, holding a flashlight and 2 candles, sitting on the floor with them while the city hummed in darkness, listening more than he spoke. And Daniel found himself saying things he hadn't planned to, about being a single dad, about starting over, about fear disguised as practicality, while Alex listened with the focus of someone trained to read what wasn't being said, noticing the way Daniel avoided details about his past job, the way his hands shook when phones buzzed, the way Lily relaxed around him instantly. And something inside Alex shifted, curiosity turning to concern, concern turning to recognition when Daniel mentioned Mercer Systems offhandedly, dismissively, like a wound you pretend doesn't hurt anymore. The investigation Alex was running at work began to mirror his nights next door, files describing a woman who weaponized accusations, manipulated HR, climbed ranks through destruction, a woman named Rachel Carter, and when Alex saw Daniel's name buried deep in the appendix of a closed report, marked, inconclusive, he felt the floor tilt beneath him, realizing the man making Lily pancakes on Sunday mornings was the same one whose career had been quietly sacrificed to protect someone higher up, someone still dangerous, still watching, and Alex was faced with a choice he hadn't expected to be personal: stay neutral, or intervene, knowing full well that intervention would drag Daniel back into a spotlight he'd nearly escaped, but neutrality had never changed anything, and when Rachel showed up at the building one rainy afternoon, heels clicking down the hallway like a countdown, Alex understood neutrality was already gone. Rachel didn't recognize Alex at first, dismissing him as another tenant, until she saw his reflection in the elevator mirror later that night, recognition blooming into calculation, and the smile she gave him the next morning was sharp enough to draw blood, warning him without words that she knew exactly who he was now. That power didn't scare her, and Alex realized this wasn't just about a single dad or a company. It was about control, and control hated witnesses. The confrontation came quietly, not with shouting or police, but with documents, recordings, timelines Alex had been assembling for months, laying them out not in a courtroom but at Daniel's kitchen table, explaining everything: who he was, why he was there, what Rachel had done, what could be undone, and Daniel felt the old fear surge, the instinct to run screaming louder than logic, until Lily walked in, small hands tugging at his sleeve, asking why the neighbor looked sad, and Daniel realized hiding had taught her fear, not safety, and maybe the only way out was through. Rachel's downfall wasn't dramatic, but it was absolute, her web unraveling under scrutiny she'd never expected, her allies vanishing the moment light touched them, and when the final custody ruling came, it wasn't revenge Daniel felt, but release, the kind that leaves you exhausted and hollow, rebuilding slowly from the inside out. And months later, when Daniel stood in the same hallway, boxes packed again, but this time moving forward, not away, he knocked on apartment 4A, thanking Alex not as a CEO, not as a savior, but as a neighbor who'd chosen to see him, and Alex smiled, telling him some walls exist only to remind us which doors matter most. And as Lily skipped down the stairs, laughing freely, Daniel understood the truth he'd been running from all along. Sometimes you don't escape your past by hiding from it, sometimes you survive by standing next to someone who refuses to look away. If you want the full extended continuation to reach 12,000 plus words with deeper twists, Rachel's counterattack, corporate betrayal, emotional fallout, and a stronger ending, simply say